Thomas? Thomas? Where is that boy run off to now? Oh, the life of a farmer. Oh, hello. Yep, I'm a farmer here in the fields of oak trees, and I'm going to be farming for a while, and it's a good thing because there's protectors, these big giant mechs in the background. So listen, my apologies for this, but I don't have a clever, unique little fun, jokey opener like my personal favorite from the last two I did with Food Chain Magnate and Under the Mask. I don't have an opener like that for Scythe because Scythe is too big and we need to just get into the game. So let's look straight at Scythe right now. So Scythe, what is Scythe? Scythe is an amazing game by Stonemeier Games. And if you know Stonemeier Games, they don't make bad games. That's kind of what they're known for. But here's the deal with Scythe that makes it so unique and interesting. I gave this to one of my friends to look at. I said, hey, look at the link to this game. Just look at the picture here. And he said, okay, when are we playing? It was instant. It was that kind of a reaction, just that visceral, that instant of when are we going to play this game? It looks incredible. How do you know, when are we doing this thing? And so we played it. It's amazing. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm not even going to act like this is a negative review or anything like that. This is an incredible game. It's as good as people thought it was going to be. It's as good as the hype machine had it coming. Here's why. Stonemeier Games is first, you know. The names on the box, they don't make bad games. They've got a huge track record. They make probably my favorite, no, without a doubt, my favorite worker placement game of all time. Viticulture. Euphoria is also great, but Scythe is something unique. You look at the box and you see these people doing this Euro-y kind of farming stuff on the front and you think, oh, okay, another farming type game. But no, that's not it, because in the background, hazy, misty in the background, you see these giant mechs meching around. And doing whatever mechs do, they're just standing there because that's kind of the combat system. They're just standing there, not really fighting, just kind of hanging out, just scaring the crap out of the other people. And so they're just standing there. And so, but you look and you see farming with sides, maybe I don't know what it's named for or not, but you see all that, and then you see these mechs in the background, and you go, there's something unique about this game. Well, the art is what starts it, but that's not where it stops. The art is all the way solid, all the way through this game, from the board, to the different mechanics, to the characters, to the little miniatures, to the worker meeples themselves. Now, this has all the trappings of a Kickstarter game because there's so many add-ons and so many collectible things. It's just one of those. You see it, it just drips it. Drips theme. You say, what is the theme? It's a brand new theme. It's its own world, Europa or whatever it's called. It's its own world that drips its own theme, and it's so absolutely worth doing. I have no clue where I'm walking right now. I'm just in the middle of a train track somewhere because I thought it looked slightly industrial. So if I get lost or run over by a train, you know what happened to me. At least we got it on video. But here's the thing. Let's talk a few mechanics. How do you win this game? You win this game by having the most money. The person with the most money wins the game. We say, okay, how do you get money? You get money through different ways, but the best way to get money is by the final score, which is kind of typical of most games. First person to put out 6 stars, because it's a Stonemeier game, 6 stars becomes the person who ends the game. They don't become anything. They end the game. And the final scoring is done. You get different amounts of money based on where you are in this population track for different things. For instance, if you have all your stars out there, you're in the top population thing, you'll get 5 coins, whatever they're called, per star, which gives you 30 right there, boom. If you're in the lowest, I think it's 3. Yeah, it's 3, 4, 5. So then you only get 18. So you want that popularity to be up, but it's such a struggle. Okay, do I raise my popularity or do I raise my battle? Do I get other stars out there by doing these different things? It's constantly pulling one way or the other to get your information, your stars out there. Now, there's no way I can cover everything that's in the game of Scythe. I'm talking very fast right now, possibly because I don't want to get hit by a train, but secondly, because there's just so much to cover and I don't want this video to be 40 minutes long. I want it to be pretty quick. So, Scythe, it's an experience. It's worker placement, it's resource management, has one of the best resource management mechanics I've ever seen. And call me ignorant to other games that do this, I don't care. You leave all the resources on the board. So if you get 3 wood, instead of putting it in your own little stockpile a la Caverna, you put it over there on the board, on the square with your worker, which all the workers are unique wood meeples. Each single meeple for each faction is different. So each faction's meeples look different. Anyway, you put it on the board, and if someone comes in to steal your resources. They just get whatever's on the square. It's an incredible idea. Instead of just saying, hey, what do you have over there? Give me that. No, you just take everything in the square, which is pretty bad when that happens to you when you're trying to upgrade or deploy a mech. So let's look inside the box in a minute and see what this art does, see what the mechanics do, and just check out the game of Scythe.
So the first thing you're going to notice about this box is the size of it. Okay, probably the art, but secondly is the size. Look at that. That's my reference hand. I have a big mitt, and it's just not even, that's a big box. So the second thing, probably the first thing, is the art. You'll notice there's a thematic reason he even mentions in the rule book, which I just saw for the first time tonight. I literally just watched people session through this. I don't know. I taught it at my house with 5 people playing it. I just kind of sat aside and watched. But you'll notice the picture is very thematic for a reason. You have these workers in the foreground working, doing their work and all that stuff. And then way in the background, you got these 2 different style of mechs in their army. Because, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's look inside this monster thing. So you got Stonemeier Games. Like I said, they don't make bad games. It's kind of putting it out there. I don't have the insert or anything like that. I didn't do the Kickstarter version. This is just the retail version of the game. So this is Scythe. The instructions, really well done. They don't play around with the instructions either. Pretty much any question you have can be answered in here. Also, hey, want to watch how it's played? Want rules in another language? Have questions? Stonemeier's great about that, like customer service. It's funny if you take a picture and tweet about you playing a Stonemeier game, 9 times out of 10, Jamie Stegmaier is going to tweet you back about something. You're not even tweeting him, you're just tweeting about the game. They're very involved with their games and making them better, which is why you get an essential version of things like Tuscany and all that, and viticulture. Quick reference guide, and then an achievement sheet so you can remember who was a jerk or not. This is a muddled mess, but it's quicker for me to get it out. Broken Token's got a new organizer. Probably going to be picking that up just because I like getting this thing to the table, but anything is good getting things to the table quick. Here's looking at you, Caperna, because you were horrible to get to the table unless you have an organizer. Anyway, so the different factions, they all have their different colors. The Nordic ones are blue, and here's what I was telling you about. I don't feel like taking them out of the bag right now, but you can see these are 2 different factions. They're both workers, but notice not at all the same shape, because that's the kind of care that went into this game. That's the only thing of the wooden pieces that are different, is that they're not the same shape, the meeples, just because they can do that. You've got blue, black, red, yellow, and white are the factions now. Green and purple are coming, and those are going to be great as well. Several different size cards inside here. The factory cards, you can see those here on the front. Shows you get another action with these cards. And the second kind of cards in here, I just want to show you a few of those, are these encounter cards. And my gosh, if you didn't like this art from just the front of the box, you have just this tableau of cards to look through with all this different art. There's a bear being pulled, or you pulling a plow, which is pretty awesome. Or they're posing with it, I think, for a picture anyway. And here's the deal with these encounters. You pick up an encounter token and you choose one of these options. For instance, this one is share some good news from home with the travelers. You get this, trade for a cow and eat steak for dinner, pay this and get this. Convince the soldiers that the pattern of the cows contain coded maps from the enemy. It's always 2 really great things for you, and then one you feel a little bit kind of guilty doing, but it's really good for you. Those encounter tokens are fun. They're just really cool. You put your plastic leader out there, and you get an encounter. These are the wheels. You only come with 2 in this version, but you only ever need 2 unless you're a completionist and you want one for every faction. So, because this is clearly the Nordic guys, and I don't know who this is. It's the black one, so it's the wolf guys, but I don't know. There's the wheels. That's how you do your battles. These, here's the money. These wonderful little Stonemeier money holders, which is great. Resources, you get the oil, the wood, and the honey pots. It's not actually what they are, but by gosh, they look like honey pots. And then little anvils. I think that's iron, steel, whatever it is, steel, wood, food, and oil. Again, I don't have the wonderful Kickstarter version with the realistic minis, but when they go on sale, I'll be picking those up because these are fine, but man, those little realistic ones look good. These are the battle cards. You use these to power up your attack. This is a 2 card. There's 2 through 5. 2 through 5. The rest of the money there, and these monies are great. Yeah, that's not a term. And then you get the boards. These are things where you can do multiples of your resources. Encounter tokens. The 1-player variant, the Otama variant. Pretty neat. Haven't done that yet. encounter tokens. I'm talking so fast, I feel like Rado right now, as fast as I'm talking. You got your different faction boards here. Now, this is pretty neat because these are all pretty similar. They all have different abilities. You put your mechs on top of these things, and when you deploy a mech, you get the ability for any plastic piece you have on what's under there. So this one will let you move between, it's called river walking, which you move between farms and villages and other things like this. You can move town. Anyway, this is the, they all have special powers. They all have different setup. Here, 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 and here, and they all have different special powers. Some of them, to me, are better than the others, but every time I say that, the person who I think is better loses. This one lets you choose the same actions twice in a row. This one lets your workers swim across rivers, which is amazingly good. This guy lets you get multiple stars for battles or objectives. This is your bottom board, and let me tell you something about the bottom board that makes this. This is literally what sold the game to me. I don't know if you can see it in the video. Let's see if I can get the depth. See that? Those are notched in spots here, 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 where your wooden pieces notch into these boards. They don't just sit on top like Terra Mystica. They actually fit into these slots, and everything has a place, and there's a place for everything, which is amazing. These are your top actions. Move. You would cover, ordinarily when the game's set up, you would cover these with these wooden pieces, and maybe I'll show you an image of what that looks like in a minute, but you cover these with the wooden pieces, and what's in red you pay, what's in green you get. Right now everything's uncovered. Normally you would have these kind of, if they're not up here, they're down here when you upgrade, but let's just go through the moves real fast. This is move. You get to move as, and I'll show you as it's stated on here. Now obviously with the pieces on here that would change because these two would be covered up, for instance, when you start the game, but and you can even tell because there's a little black square on the things that would be covered up. So for the very beginning of the game, and I'll just do it like that based on the fact there's a black square there. At the beginning of the game, you do the move action. You would move 2 of your units, and that's anything plastic or wood, 1 space. You can gain a coin. Trade, you pay a coin and get 2 resources of any kind, or you can get, at the beginning of the game, 1 on the popularity track. The produce action, this lets you pay meeples. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. Produce action lets you you produce the squares that you have out there, the hexes you have out there. So if you have a hex that produces something, you produce on that hex. And this one would be, whatever it is. So if you're sitting on oil, you'll produce oil. If you have 2 workers sitting on 1 hex, they'll produce 2 of that resource. The mill basically counts as a permanent worker. You put it out on any kind of hex you want, and it produces. Top one, the last one here. And then the weird thing about producing, the more workers you have out, the more it costs to do the produce action. You got to feed them people. Last over here is you pay to bolster. You can make your strength better on the strength track for combat. And there's no way I can go through this entire game. Strength, or you get a combat card. All of these open up when you build the buildings, and they provide you things like this one gives you popularity. The mill we talked about. This one gives you a attack power, and then this one treats your mine as a another mine on the board. Mines are all adjacent. Down here, you can upgrade, which means you make one of these. Take one of the cubes from up here and put it down here. It means this gets better and this gets better. The enlist action lets you, if you or the 2 people sitting adjacent to you do these bottom actions that you have uncovered, you get the benefit under there. Deploy, you pay that amount to get a mech out there, pay that amount of steel to get a mech, pay this amount of wood to get a building, plus 2 coins for this faction mech. This one you pay 3 honeypots food to get the enlist action, and that's where you do this thing where you take these guys. Those are the actions you can take. So, bonus cards, they're all different ones for each turn. Objective cards, these are things like control at least 3 tunnels at the end of your turn. That one's not too bad. And let's take a look at this plastic before we look at the board, because man, oh man, does this game shine with these miniatures. Now, they're not super detailed, so I've painted these 2 right now. For instance, you can see I had to kind of paint the highlights on themselves. They're not super detailed. But if you put enough work into it, you can kind of get a good highlight out there. This tiger looks way better in person. I'm aware this face looks a little funky right there. The highlights on top and all that stuff. And good stuff. They paint up really good. But even before they paint up, they still look pretty awesome. And this dude is riding a water buffalo. He's a Viking on a buffalo. You really don't get a lot cooler than that. Or a yak. I don't know what that is. The mechs themselves are cool because a lot of them are farm tools. This is a straight up tractor with a gun on it and legs, which is pretty awesome. This is a Viking ship with dragon tip and everything right here, with legs on it and a gun. It's pretty awesome. These also paint up pretty good. The red one here, got a nice little weathering and all that stuff. But that's the plastic. Plastic pieces are units, and the wooden pieces are all units. Plastic pieces can fight, wooden pieces cannot. It's just neat stuff. Let's take a look at the board real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap up this whole review, quick overview, look at everything like that, because my lord, there's so much to this game. If you have the Kickstarter version, you got 2 of the maps, which means you can put it together and play the super giant version. I do not have that, as I mentioned earlier. Hopefully, I can remedy that. You open this thing without tearing it into pieces. It'd be nice. I can't remember, somebody tell me that they did that. They opened up, I don't know if it was Eldritch Horror or something like that. They just ripped because they opened it the wrong way. Let's just flop it out right here. Okay, so over here's the popularity track. You put your heart here. The higher you go up on this, the better you get at the end of the game scoring. Up there is the star track. That's where you put your stars. Here's the different factions where they start. These are the different territories. I'm going super fast. I know you can rewatch it if you need to. I just don't want this video to be so long. These produce wood. These produce more workers. These produce steel. These produce honeypots. These produce oil. That's about it as far as the different types of productions. These are all adjacent to each other because they're all mines. The factory is here. You go to the factory. You get a factory card. The factory cards are the things that add actions to your play map. Down here, this is where the bonus tile goes. This is where those encounter tile goes. This is where your objective tile goes. Over here is the power. Your power is one of those things where you spend it. So if you have a 7 power, you can never spend more than 7 because the dial. You spend it and it goes away. It goes all the way down. And that's it. Pretty much that's the board. Up there is where your battle cards go. But that's the board in a nutshell. It's beautiful to look at the art. It's just phenomenal. That's everything that comes in the box, though. Okay, one more thing. These final scoring, you get, if you're up in the top bracket, you get 5 for every star, 4 for every star for the second bracket. Third bracket, you get 3 for every star, and then 4, 3, 2 for the territories you control, and then 3, 2, 1 for the every 2 resources you have. So what do I think of Scythe? Scythe is probably my favorite game this year, and I have a shelf up there with Star Wars Rebellion, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. I got Viticulture this year, but it's not this year's game. And this is probably my favorite game of the year. It is incredible. The hype was huge for this game. People were just talking about it, kickstarting it like crazy. It was a Stonemeier game. This game is incredible. All of the art, all of the characters, all the thought that goes into the mechanics, the top, bottom actions, the fact that you have to move your pawn each time you do an action. You cannot do the same action twice unless you're red, you dirty, dirty reds. It's just incredible. Everything that went in this game was so thought out and so well prepared to just make it a fun experience. We just had 5 people over who don't really play. This is the deepest game they ever played. They really enjoyed it. And instantly, it's one of those games where at the end of it, you go, oh, well, next time I want to do this, or I want my strategy to be this next time, or whatever. It's just great. I mean, it's hard to get right now because I think it's coming, another shipment's coming in October, November, something like that. But you can deck this game out with official stuff from Stonemeier. He's got metal coins. He's got an additional board where the back of this board is twice the size. So you can play with 2 boards. This game's already crowded on my kitchen table with the regular size board, so I can't imagine with 2 of the big boards, But I definitely want to try it. The painted realistic resources are great. Metal coins, I mean, come on. This game is it just looks good. And it's hard sometimes to get a game that looks that good to play that good, but it truly does. All the mechanics are there. I talked about Seafall just a few days ago about how you do your entire turn. Well, this one, you do an action. Boom, I'm done. As you're doing your bottom row actions, the next person can already be taking their turn. In a 5-person game, it always feels like it's your turn, and that is hard to pull off, to make it constantly feel like it's your turn. But they do it, and they do it so well. Any negatives of this game? I don't want to be that guy that doesn't knock it for anything, but truthfully, it's just... I'm scratching just the bottom of the barrel to think of any... Okay, this is not a negative, but it's something that's going to deter some people when they learn this, if they're not prepared for it. The reason I brought up the art at the beginning of the game, the beginning of the video about the mechs being in the background is because you fight maybe 20%, 10% of the game. We just had this match in here. We had 2 fights between a 5-person game the entire game. It's not a game of fights. It's a game of deterrent. It's a lot like nuclear war. You build up your arsenal so that the other person does not even think about attacking you. That's what Scythe is about. You're building up your army so the other person doesn't even think of attacking you. And that's what you do. You do it, you get it done, and you win. You put out the stars. Which makes sense. Stars equal glory. in war. Anyway, this is a game you got to get. I'm just telling you hands down. Cannot recommend this enough. This is 2 thumbs up. I'm laying down, but this is technically up. Okay, just so we're clear. 2 thumbs up. You have to go get this game. You won't regret it. See, but Brian, I only play by myself. I don't have another group of people to play with. Play solo too. I haven't played it solo. That's an option. Scythe. Go get it. Latest retro. Definitely approves Scythe.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.